Today we're going to be talking about my 6-speed swap on this 2005 Ram 2500 Cummins. Let's get to it. This is the result of the retainer clip coming out of the U-joint, going down the highway at about 70 miles an hour. It actually ripped the transfer case off the back of the transmission, and it pretty much just wreaked havoc on the whole thing. So yeah, this is why I'm doing all this in the first place. Alright guys, so the clutch came in. I've already got it torn apart there so I can get the flywheel put on there. And then I got our parts from Summit over here. We got the stuff for the transmission. We got that new retainer there. We got the new, I'm not going to use them studs probably in the transfer case, but I will use those nuts. New pivot ball, hopefully that one there threads in there good. And then I got the South Bend clutch pivot fork. This one was from Summit. So yeah, now we're going to try to get this here mounted up there and see what we can do. So I'm going to get this mounted, and then we'll get the clutch on there, and hopefully within the next little bit, a couple minutes for you guys, we can get the clutch in it and the transmission. The clutch is in. I didn't film it because if you know anything about putting in a clutch, it's the same as any other clutch. The biggest thing is the flywheel. You want to take brake cleaner and make sure that you clean all of the oil and stuff off of it before you put your clutch back together. Another thing, I use Loctite. Valera does recommend using Loctite on the bolts. I use the red 271, and just make sure you torque all your bolts. We have some work to do in the transmission. Got a couple of things to put on it, and we'll be ready to put the transmission in this thing, so let's get to it. Before you put the transmission in, I'd advise going ahead at this point and cutting the hole in the floor for your shifter to come up through. Just make sure you cut to the outside of the square. That way you have plenty of room and nothing rubs and hits, and you'll be good. The transmission is just a junkyard find. These G56 transmissions are extremely hard to find, so no junkyard around me had one. So I got on eBay and was able to hunt this one down. Spillman Auto Parts out of Iowa had this one, and it seemed to be a good unit, and they shipped it right to me. So I got it, and it had no shaft plate or anything like that. So I cleaned it up, put a fresh coat of paint on it, and that's what we're using. So one thing I went ahead and done was replace this. I didn't know if I needed to or not, but it ain't really worn down, but it does have some spots on it, so I figured I'd go ahead and replace it while I had all this stuff tore apart. So we ordered this from Summit. Came in. I'm just going to double check everything. Looks exactly the same. The new one is a little bit heavier duty. It's cast, so that's a good thing. And I'm just going to clean this out. You want to check is your input shaft. Make sure it doesn't have any wear or any grooves, because your pilot bearing is going to ride on that. So if there's grooves in that and you notice some wear on the splines of your input shaft, then you probably need to go ahead and replace it. Luckily, this one here looks in great shape. I did take some Scotch-Brite and clean that up a little bit, but all in all, it looks great. So I'm going to I cleaned this up the best I could. I'm going to take the shop vac and just suck this stuff out, and then we'll be ready to put the new pivot ball in, as well as the clutch fork, and then we'll be ready to get this thing stuck in the truck. I got the truck jacked up. I'm going to try. I think I got enough clearance to get it up underneath the frame. One thing I recommend is having the right tools for the job, and I strongly recommend going ahead and spending the money and buying this transmission jack at Harbor Freight. it's totally worth it. This transmission's like wrestling a 300-pound gorilla up underneath the truck, and I at first tried to do it with a floor jack and it didn't work. So go ahead and spend the money and buy this transmission jack. At this point in the project, I got the transmission in and bolted up. When it comes to the wiring for the reverse lights, you're going to have this harness right here that went into the 48RE, and you're going to have a white and light green wire and a white and light gray wire. I don't know how well it'll pick up on the camera, but you're going to splice those wires, and that's what I'm going to do, is splice them, and then you'll run it up into your reverse switch up there. And if you're in doubt, you can always just get you some wire. That's what I did to make sure I had the right ones. Turn the key and make sure the reverse lights came on. So we're going to do that, and the reverse lights will be all wired up. This is the harness I made for the reverse lights. You can buy like the pigtail for this online. I think it's like 35 bucks. But I took the time. I already had like this plug here apart, trying to fix it, that come on the transmission when I bought it, but I was unable to do that. So I just pretty much made my own terminals on the end and plugged it up, and then I put some RTV on the end of it so it'll stay sealed up. Hopefully this will work. And I just spliced in up there. I wrapped all that up. That's the old plug and everything off the 48RE. Get a better angle here. We're going to tie all that up, of course, but then we just put this corrugated wire protector on it, and I'm going to put the switch back in there. So it does work as of right now, so we're going to see once we get it bolted in and make sure everything's good. Your clutch neutral switch, safety switch. There's a couple different ways you can do it. Really, you don't have to even have one, but safety of my child, and it's just better just to play it safe. You're going to have a yellow wire with a blue tracer, and it's going to be pin number 6 on the transmission harness. If you can see, it's like right there, it's yellow with the blue tracer, and basically I just tapped into it and run it back over and corrugated wire protector and into the firewall. So the next wire, all this thing does is work off of ground. The other one, I just went off the body ground of the truck right here, and I run it. You could probably done it on the firewall inside, but I was already running that wire in there. Just as easy to do it that way. So I run both of them wires through the firewall, and they're right here. Basically, once these things are connected, the truck will cut on. I haven't installed the neutral switch yet. I have to buy that, but the wires are here ready for that. So when the switch comes in, I'll hook it on to the rod, the clutch rod, and then I'll just put some spade connectors, or I'll just cut the end off of the switch and splice into it. And of course, you'll cut this slack and everything, make it all nice up underneath there. Like I said, you do not have to do it that way. If you prefer not to have the switch altogether, you can just go up there and ground that wire, that yellow wire with the blue tracer, and do it that way. But like I said, for me, I just prefer to play it safe and have all the safety stuff. So I'm going to put the switch on the rod. So that's how you do the switch. Not that complicated at all. And other than that, in your reverse lights, you're good to go. So as far as the tuning the truck goes, I went with the Smarty, and it was super simple. I just bought the simple tuner, and you'll just contact Smarty directly, and they will get you a recovery file that you can put on the tuner, and you just plug it in the truck and tune it like you would anything else. So super simple on the tuning part. I got the Smarty in the other day, and I had to go ahead and purchase the recovery tune for the transmission. So I went ahead and done all that on the computer, and I'm going to go ahead and try to download this onto the truck. So I'm going to go through the settings here. Says checking data, please wait. The park, drive, neutral, reverse, all that's gone now. So we're gonna see if it starts up. We're there. Shoot ya. The drive shafts are something that we had to get done as well. If you're doing this swap, that'll have to be taken care of. On my truck, I had to do 2 inches off of the rear shaft, and I had to add 2 inches to the front shaft. Now, a local Driveline shop was able to do this for me pretty cheap. He balanced it and done all that stuff, put new U-joints and stuff in that as well. Get a shot of that. I haven't painted it or anything yet. That's something I'll probably do before winter. While I'm under here, I'm going to go ahead and touch on this. The mount, your transmission mount, it should work fine. The 48RE had a plate that come off the back here, and the 48RE bolted to it. This one here does not require that, and you should be able to just use your mount. I put a new transmission mount in just because, and bolted it right to it, so it worked out great. Another thing I'll hit on real quick is the transfer case. The output shaft on the 48RE is a 27 spline, and on the G56 it's a 29 spline. Now, this transfer case I had just replaced not long before all that blew apart, and I just decided to go ahead and just put a new input shaft on the transfer case since this thing was basically brand new. You can do that, or you can get lucky and maybe find you a transfer case, but it's really no big deal. I'll attach some pictures. It's really no big deal to go ahead and just put a new input shaft on this thing. It's super simple to tear apart. If you have any kind of mechanical knowledge, which I'm sure you do if you're doing this, it's no big deal to do that. So that takes care of all your Driveline stuff. A couple of the biggest questions I got asked when I did this swap was, what'd you do about your firewall with the pedal plate, and what'd you do about your steering column? Did you have to replace it or find a manual steering column? Oh, these trucks are kind of universal across the board when they built these things. Only difference is they had a different cover on the outside, and of course your shifter right here. So you just go in there and I took out that shifter. There was a couple screws that you take out, and the whole shifter comes out, the whole mechanism. And the biggest thing was trying to find the cover for this. They're extremely hard to find. So I ended up just taking the rubber cover off of the automatic shifter and taking the rubber piece off of it. And I had this here just laying around somewhere, and I cut it and glued it to the old rubber cover that snapped in, and really it don't look bad. I mean, it's just it sticks out a little bit, but I mean, it's in there, it snaps into place, and it don't have a big gaping hole right there. So that looks a lot better than, of course, the hole. If I ever find a manual steering column cover, I'll probably put it on there, but for whatever reason, them things are hard to find. The next thing is your pedal plate. I'll get underneath here so you can see. These pedal plates, I don't know how well that's gonna pick up, but the pedal plate is the exact same in an automatic truck and a manual truck. The only difference is, of course, you got your pedal there. Your brake pedal is going to be wider on the automatic, and then you don't have, of course, your clutch pedal right here. The biggest thing is trying to find this pedal. I think that you can still, I got this one off eBay, but there's a place for it up there. It's just not there, and you basically just put that rod in there. You can see kind of up there above that white little bushing looking thing, there's a pin that goes in there, and it the factory pedal plate that you have in your automatic truck will work. All you have to do is that. Another thing that I got asked, or I forgot to mention earlier, is the hole. You do not have to drill any holes in the firewall for your clutch pedal and all that, your hydraulics and all that. That's already there. You don't have to do any of that. There's like a rubber bush grommet thing that goes in there, and you just literally put that, take that out and put the stuff through there, and you're golden. There's no modifications whatsoever on the steering column that you have to do other than remove the shifter, and there's no modifications on the firewall, no drilling or anything like that. You just basically, it's all universal with the automatic and the manual. Video up. Like I told you at the beginning of the video, I was going to make a list of everything that I done, and really it was kind of surprising to me what I had in this thing. $6,415.44 is what it would cost you to do a complete 6-speed swap. Now that's with finding a transmission at that price. As you can see, I paid $1,000 for the clutch. The transmission was like $3,000. Yeah, right there. Transmission was $3,167. And then you have a bunch of little piddly things that really add up. So one thing that I ended up having to buy for my truck, which was kind of a expense, was a new adapter plate. Mine was cracked, and I didn't really want to put a transmission back on there with a cracked adapter plate. So I went ahead and bought a new one, and that was like $437.13 for that. I guess you could say that's what I have, the total price in doing this complete swap on my truck. I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you have any questions, just don't be afraid to comment, and I'll try to get back to you. All right, thanks, guys.